everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And today we're very excited. We are continuing on our series where we are talking about our favorite movies the last 25 years. So it's a mammoth undertaking. We already did our 41 through 50, and today we're doing our 31 through 40. And so that's going to be a ton of fun. And I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Alise Chaffins is here. Alise, thank you.
Hello, it's so fun to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
Yeah, it was really I thought it was interesting that I think we only had How to Train Your Dragon and Mad Max Fury Road were the only matches that we had that
Yeah.
are will be on your list somewhere.
Mhm.
And Parasite. Those were the three that
Yeah.
we had. So it's gonna be interesting. This next section we were talking offline that for me this is a very personal section, and I'd actually be kind of surprised if any of my 10 made your top 50, but we'll see. But yeah, I think I'll at least have a couple where people are like, that made your list. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But as we talked about before, we these are just our favorites, and also like we kind of shared our paradigms last time and I love animation, I love period pieces, I love musicals, I love Christmas movies, all those things. So
Yeah, and I love films about families and like
yes.
close friends. And it's funny because this one has very little of that. My 10
Oh,
here are
yeah,
more of like my, I don't know, like filmy kind of things
yeah,
that I like, or I like for like maybe broader reasons,
yeah.
outside of maybe just the film specifically. So,
Well,
yeah, this is an interesting 10
yeah.
for me.
Well, you
Yeah.
felt like this 10 is like not as eclectic as some of the other 10 for you, as you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, these are ones that I feel like they might, there are maybe a couple of like zags on it, but for the most
Or
part, this feels like
achievements. Yeah.
a pretty, yeah,
All
regular,
right.
boring 10.
Okay, well, let's dive in. Let's talk about it. So number 40 is I think a forgotten film, and
Hmm.
I'd be interested if you've even seen it. But it's so applicable, especially now. Everybody should watch it. It's called In America. This is by director Jim Sheridan from 2002. This
Hmm.
is a beautiful film about an immigrant family that he's Greek, I believe. Yeah, and that have come over to America. They're living in like a project type environment, like a rundown old townhouse. And uh Jemin Hudsu is like this eclectic artist who lives below them. And he has the dad, it's the main character is the dad, played by Patty Considine. And he's just trying to make something of himself for his two little girls who are absolutely adorable. And there's just some absolutely devastating scenes. I won't spoil them for you,
Hmm.
but it's just a very emotionally true movie. And if you want to like right now, I mean, what we need is we need to understand the immigrant experience and what's going on with America, what it even means to be American. And this is a great example of that. And I wish more people saw it, knew it, and it was nominated for Best Picture at the time, I believe. But it's just one of those ones that kind of fallen through the cracks, so people should check it out.
Yeah, I'm totally unfamiliar with that one. So
Yeah,
interesting.
really
Yeah.
good.
So my number 40 is Good Luck to You, Leo Grand.
Oh,
Um,
that's a good one.
it was a film from 2022, and I think it went straight to Hulu. I think it was a like
Yeah,
direct to streaming kind of thing. Emma Thompson is absolutely flawless in it, and I think it's just such an interesting look at the way people look at like sexuality, especially with older people. And I think we've kind of seen that subject kind of be discussed a little bit more like in recent years, but I just really love this one. Her performance is beautiful.
yeah,
It's just a very small film. I mean, I'm sure it was filmed during COVID, so it's basically a more or less a two-person movie. And
yeah.
I love the story in it. I just think it's a really brave and interesting performance. And yeah, it's one that I think didn't, again, it also, I don't think got like a whole lot of like coverage. I think it was like well regarded when it came
Yeah.
out, but it doesn't feel like one that got a lot of hype. And it's, yeah, it's one that I like. Yeah, it just kind of like lives in my brain as like an interesting exploration, especially of like older women, especially as an older woman. I'm 50 now. So, just to kind of like see that in a way of like breaking out of what you grew up with and like thought about how things could be. I just think it's a really
Yeah.
interesting film and worth checking out.
Yeah, it's a really good one. The characters are both so well done. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
two-hander, these two people, but they really feel like you get to know them, and they're both like flawed characters. They both have
Hmm.
like they feel very real. It feels authentic, it's which is sometimes hard to do in these kind of they're trying to make a statement about feminism or sexuality, or sometimes the characters can get a little one note, but that's not the
Hmm.
case here. And it's still funny.
Yeah.
It's actually quite humorous, and so yeah, great choice. I really enjoyed that. My number 39 is also comedy. It's one of my favorites of the last few years. It is Game Night. Is my comedy.
I
It's
just watched that recently.
Oh, you
I
did for the first time?
love, oh no, no,
Oh,
for the
okay.
like
Yeah.
manyth time. It's probably one of my favorite comedies of the past decade. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I love this movie.
Yeah. It's just so funny, and like it has all of like the character humor that you want, but then it also is like got slapstick. It's got almost like every kind of brand of comedy that you could want. It's got it in here. And yeah, it's if comedy's got more love in award season, this is the one that I wish had kind of had gotten that. But yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's great.
Oh, and Jesse Plemons is so perfect in that movie. It
Yes,
is probably one of
he
my
is so
absolute
good.
favorite roles that he's ever done. It's like take his character in Civil War and just drop him into a comedy, and that's what it is, and it is perfection. Like,
Yeah, that's
so my 39 is decidedly not a comedy. It is Children of Men from 2006.
oh
Um,
yeah, good choice.
yeah, it's just such, I mean, this is one of those, I think a lot of people have seen it, and if you haven't, you absolutely should. It is just such a fascinating look at this, yeah, like declining birth rate kind of time, and this person, and the final scene is just one of the most exceptional, like single shot kind of scenes filmed. It is gripping and
Yeah,
powerful, and I don't, it's like a what,
yeah.
like 6 or 7 minute like single camera shot, and it is
Well,
stunning.
and even then the
Yeah.
opening shot also
Yeah,
going
exactly.
into this. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
like it's
incredible.
just, oh my goodness. Like
Yeah,
the
that's
story itself is powerful, but
yeah.
just the way it's filmed is really exceptional too.
I'm normally not a dystopian person. It's just too cynical usually for my taste. But that one is incredibly well done.
Yeah,
Good
and
choice.
I think it avoids being wholly cynical. I think
Yeah,
that's why it
yeah,
works for me, because
that's
like you,
true.
I like, I don't dislike dystopian film, but I want there to be some breath in it, and this one definitely has that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Well, my next one is one that I liked way more than most people. So go figure. It's actually Mary Poppins Returns. I
I have
absolutely,
not seen that.
yeah. I mean, most people seem to just think, oh, it's just a copy of the original, whatever. I thought it was enchanting. I absolutely loved the music. I loved the dancing. I thought that it actually had like a slightly different message than the original film, which of course the original is a masterpiece, but and this isn't a masterpiece, but I I thought it's about a father who is trying almost too hard
Mm.
to be there for his kids and save his kids and things, and it's kind of tearing him up inside because some things in life are just out of your control. Like you can't control, you can't keep your kids from every bad thing that might happen to them. and for every and so it was just like slightly different than what, and it did have some of the same beats, but of course it is. It's a Mary Poppins movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really loved it. I found it quite enchanting, and I was kind of bummed that it didn't do better because if in my opinion, I wish that more of these live action remakes, sequels, whatever, um, that they were more like this, like paying homage, but still doing their own thing, own songs, own story, own, performances. It's not just a copy of the original. But other people thought it was too close. I can understand that, I guess, but I don't know. In my opinion, it's definitely one of the most underrated films the last 25 years. I really found it enchanting. And so there we go.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
So 38 for me is Avengers Infinity War,
Yes.
From 2018. And this is one that, even aside from the film of it, this is one of those movies that the event of it is
Yeah.
what puts it so high on my list, or makes the list at all. It was just so exciting to go. It's part of why I still just love go to the movies.
Yeah.
Are these big event kind of things, and Infinity War is that. And yeah, I like Endgame is good, but like Infinity War, just there's so much power
Yeah.
in it. I love the way that they developed, the enemy, and like gave the villain a, like, maybe not sympathetic exactly, but just such an interesting kind of way. And yeah, I felt like some of that got lost in Endgame, but Infinity War is just, it's a movie moment, and was just
Yeah.
such a cap for a decade's worth of like build up, and I think it was just executed really
Yeah.
well.
I cheated a little bit in the next entry that were or in future entries. I kind of just have like Avengers because I really did love
That's
all of the
fair.
Avengers movies, and
Yeah, they are.
that the whole saga with them all was, it was so much fun. Avengers Endgame was one of the best experiences in a theater that I've ever had.
Yeah.
Like it was
Yeah.
so much fun to be a part of it, and of course it has its flaws as all franchises do,
Yeah.
but what an incredible cast that they got. And I do think, like, when I first saw Infinity War, I was kind of like, ugh, give me a break. You expect me to actually believe that all these people are dead? Give me a break. I thought
Right.
it was,
Well, yeah.
I kind of rolled my eyes. And but I have to admit, in subsequent years, I have thought about it and think, you know what, that was actually a pretty ballsy move for them, for the villain to win in a
Yeah.
major movie, in Marvel no less. That was pretty brave of them.
Yeah, for
So I've
sure.
I've warmed up more to Infinity War in the last few years than especially with how weak their post Endgame movies have been.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, that it's kind of made me think, that really was a pretty bold movie, from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, good choice. My number 37 is the only movie on this list from last year.
Mm. Okay.
So yeah, I have Hundreds of Beavers on the list.
It's
And it,
awesome.
it technically wasn't even my favorite movie of last year. And The Wild Robot was my favorite, but I have to admit, like, I feel like Hundreds of Beavers is the one that I'm probably going to remember the most of the year. And I had it as fifth, so it wasn't like it was way behind in
Right.
my end of the year ranking. And also, after I had done that ranking, I actually got to see it with a crowd, and
Oh,
it was so fun. And it wasn't even just like a crowd; it was like a passionate crowd. There were people cosplay. People had beaver hats on. I was like, this
I
is the best
absolutely
day of
believe
my
that.
life. And it was just so funny. And I absolutely love the way it's filmed. And I love the way the gags are set up and executed. And just it is a little too long. I think that
Yeah.
it probably would, like, if we lived in a world where a featurette like 45 minutes was marketable, I think that would be perfect for this. But we don't. Yeah, got to be, feature film length. And so yeah, I that's a fair critique, but I don't know. I just found it so creative, so funny, so cool looking. I just love the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Oh no, I don't
Yeah.
think there has been a movie from last year that I've recommended more
Yeah,
that
me
people
too.
watch than Hundreds of Beavers. It was number 3 on my list. I loved Hundreds of Beavers. It is hilarious that they were able to do that spittoon joke like 8 times or something, and it's funny every time.
Yeah.
Is just a testament to how great it
Or like
is.
that
Yeah.
woodpecker.
Yeah,
Like
it's
click, click, click,
so
click, click.
so funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah, yeah. If it's everywhere. If you haven't watched it, watch that movie immediately.
Yeah.
You can watch it for free
Yeah, on Amazon.
everywhere. Yeah, on Amazon. I think it's on Tubi. I think you can get it with a library card. Watch that movie. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really, yeah, it is.
Excellent.
It's special.
Excellent pick. Yeah. Excellent pick. Yeah.
All
So
right,
my
what do you have
my
next?
37 is Nightmare Alley, which just feels
Oh,
like such an underrated, like this is one that I do think is underrated of Guillermo del Toro's work. Like it came out in 21, which was just a tough year, I think, for
yeah.
movies just in general. And like I know it's one that I think I believe it was nominated for some Oscars, but
I think,
like
yeah, Best Picture.
yeah,
And maybe
but
Kate
like
Blanchett. I
I
can't
feel
remember.
like nobody watched this movie or ever talks
Yeah.
about this movie outside of then. And it is
Hmm.
like I love Bradley Cooper's performance in it. I think he is just fantastic, like start to end. He's so good. I love the way Guillermo del Toro just works in these weird things and elevates the stories of like just the I don't know, the outcast kind of people. And I think the way that this story works together is just so good. It does run a little long. I think it's a kind of similar story there, but like, I don't know. I love his aesthetic. I love,
Yeah.
yeah, this is one of my favorite Bradley Cooper performances. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's one, when I
Yeah.
think of 21, there aren't like a whole bunch of movies that jump into my brain, and this is one that
One
does.
one of the problems with being a critic is that during award season, especially for me, because I have to watch all the Christmas movies also.
Right.
So I'm just
Right.
watching so many movies, boom, 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 that sometimes a good movie can kind of just I try my best to appreciate everything, but I don't know. It's really hard, and that was one
Yeah,
that
they
was just
can
kind of,
wash over you for
yeah, they
sure.
do,
Yeah.
and that was one that, yeah, I'd like to revisit it because I remember thinking, oh, it's really beautiful. Of course, it's still Toro,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I haven't thought
Yeah.
about that for a long time.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, my number 36 is actually the 2005 version of Pride and Prejudice
Yeah.
with director Joe Wright. Is absolutely beautiful, this movie. And I think it's such an interesting take because I'm not a traditionalist when it comes to my literary adaptations. I'm fine with creative liberties being taken as long as you hold true to the spirit of the original thing you're adapting or do something to excite me. That but in this case, I think what was so interesting, because you can't do like these straight, I think what was so interesting is that the straight by the book adaptation has already been done with the
Right.
Colin Firth. Like you can't do better than that. It's not
Yeah.
going to happen. So you have to think of something else, something new. And what they did is they kind of decided to have Darcy be sort of just shy. He's not really even that big of a jerk. Um, he's just sort of awkward and shy,
Right.
and it's really Lizzie that does more of the change. She's more of
Mm.
the dynamic character in the story, and I thought that was a really interesting take on Pride and Prejudice. And I just love how earthy it is, how gritty it is. Like you see the dirt on their dresses, you see it. This is not like a stuffy period piece in my opinion. The music is absolutely beautiful. It's got so many super swoon worthy scenes, because one of the tricky things about Jane Austen is that she actually doesn't have very much romantic dialogue between her hero and heroine. She does things like, she says in the proposal in Pride and Prejudice, she says, he said what was appropriate for a man desperately in love, or something to that effect. It's like, no, I want to know what he said. What did he say? You know, and so she does that, and so you kind of have to add to it, and they do it here, saying like, you bewitched me body and soul. And I think that there are a lot of people who actually think that's in Jane Austen.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
in the text. It's not. And they do it so well here. And I know a lot of purists, they don't like it. It makes too many changes. I love it. So there we go.
Excellent. Yeah. Good.
36.
Good. Yeah. So
Yeah.
36 for me is the 2013 film Fruitvale Station, from Ryan Coogler, starring Michael B. Jordan. I love this
That's a
one
good movie.
because so often when you start looking at like police shootings or police violence or anything along those lines, it just has this really, it turns into almost like this, like, I don't know, like pity porn, or like this, yeah, we just want to see the horrible thing happen. And that's such a
Yeah.
tiny part of this movie. Like, it's about Oscar Grant and ends with his death, but the film is about the life that he was living. And I think that
Mhm.
is so much more important to focus on when we're talking about
Yeah.
like any of these kind of things. Is like, yeah, we can look at those last final moments and whatever and make our judgments based on, whatever kind of point of view we're coming from, but these people have whole lives that
Yeah.
exist outside of that moment. And this film just, it's a one day kind of thing, but I love
Yeah.
that aspect of it, that it doesn't reduce Oscar Grant to just victim, but like allows him
Yeah.
to be a person, and like a fleshed out person.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, this is not like a martyr in the sense,
Mm-mm.
he's flawed. Like, he's a
Yeah.
flawed human being, which makes it all the more powerful.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's very authentic. Yeah, that's a great pick.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't thought of that. But my number 35 is probably maybe the cutest movie ever made. It is Marcel the Shell with Shoes.
Oh, love
I love it
Marcel.
so much.
Beautiful, beautiful film.
Yes, I just love Marcel as a character. I love Jenny Slate's performance. I love the back and forth between Marcel and Dean. Why aren't you helping me with this? Like the way, so cute. And Isabella Rossellini as the grandma, as Nan. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cute.
Yeah.
And
Oh, and
he's
it's a movie about family. Oh,
Yeah, and even though I say it's the cutest movie ever made, I actually don't think it's that cloying. Like,
no, not at all.
I feel like it's sort of funny enough, and like, I don't know, it's, to me at least, it rides that line of
Mm.
cute character, but not being annoying. And
Oh, yeah.
I was just rooting for him to find his family. And when he goes on the trip and he sees how big Los Angeles really is, and it's so discouraging, and everything was 60 minutes is hilarious.
So good.
It's so good, and it's the only thing that gives me any hope for this Lilo and Stitch movie, is that Dean is directing it.
Okay.
So maybe he can bring like something, to that, make it, but
Maybe.
that's the only
Oh,
thing I have any hope for.
excellent pick. Excellent
Yeah,
pick. Yeah, I
yeah.
think there's a line toward the end where Marcel says something like, I enjoy the sound of me connected to everything, or something like
Oh
that, because
yeah.
the wind is
Yeah.
like whistling through his shell. And like, that is such a beautiful, profound line. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, good pick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and I had the chance to see it with a crowd twice. I saw it when it was first in theaters, and then I saw it, and they had a movie on the lawn, one of our local parks. And so that was a really fun environment to see it in with kids, and everybody, getting, it was fun.
For sure. For sure.
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
So my number 35 is The Social Network.
Oh man.
I just this from the score and just the cutting and the directing and everything, and I know that there are like all kinds of issues like since then, and obviously like we're kind of in the middle of like what does social media even mean? I guess
Uh-huh.
like this kind of examination of it. And I think it's just kind of interesting to go back and look at this. This is a 2010 film and kind of see so many questions that we were already running up against with like social media and everything. That's 15 years ago, and how much it's changed since then
Yeah.
is just like, I think it's just, and how we've just been wholly unprepared to deal with it. And I think like this is one that I think is maybe again like maybe a little bit more than just the film itself for me, is like the larger context of it
Yeah.
existing in the world, I guess, to some degree. And that's, like I said,
Yeah.
that's kind of a lot of the films in this 10 for me.
It is
But like,
extremely well
I mean, it's an
directed.
excellent
Yeah,
film,
it's
but
extremely well directed by Fincher.
yeah,
And I only wish I'm not as high on Sorkin as a lot of people are.
that's fair.
And I feel like he's, of course, great at dialogue. We know that.
Yeah.
But I wish that in particularly women, he wrote them with a little bit more nuance. His characters can be a little one note, in my opinion. And I wish that he with Zuckerberg I wish it was a little more nuanced. He's just kind of the greedy rich guy. And
Yeah.
there I think it could have been a little bit more interesting if they had dived in a little bit more to who is I don't know if I really feel like I know him by the end.
That's
I
fair.
know
That's fair.
the phenomenon. I know Facebook and kind of the steps of how it started, but you almost feel like you get to know the Andrew Garfield character better than you do
Yeah, for
Zuckerberg.
sure. I'd agree with
But
that.
it is an excellent. It's an excellent film. So I see. Oh, I made your list. It definitely. So my 34 is actually where I have the most recent version of Jane Eyre from 2011.
Mm,
I absolutely love this movie. It's very similar, actually, to me to Pride and Prejudice. Especially with Jane Eyre, it's been told so many times. There have been so many movies over the years with Jane Eyre that you have to do something to kind of shake it up, do something a little bit different. So I think trying to work with the timeline a little bit, mixing it up, and I think the chemistry here is really strong between Mia and Michael Fassbender. Mia Wasikowski and Michael Fassbender is really good. Of course, all of the technicals are great. Cinematography, the costumes, all that stuff is really good. The music I love. But it's might be my favorite adaptation of Jane Eyre, which is a book I love, and especially just some of those key scenes. And I love the scene when she's fantasizing him coming in through the snow, and they have this great kiss. Oh, so good. And you
yeah.
were calling out to me, and I love the whole thing of that uh just I love the if you go to Ireland with all that distance, my heart will break and it will bleed inwardly. It's just like such great. I love. I mean, it's a great novel in my opinion, and I think they do it really well here. So yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's it. Whenever you start talking about some of these like really well-known stories, what risks are you willing to take with it that
yeah,
still keep the integrity of the story like intact? And I'm always, yeah, that's always a like really interesting thing to see
yeah.
done
Well, and
well.
Jane
Yeah.
Eyre has something to say about
Yeah.
religion, has something to say about marriage, obviously, about love, about and her whole journey going from being this orphan and she thinks she's really not even like worthy of love. Jane, you strange thing. I knew you bewitched my horse, all this stuff. So yeah, it's a favorite.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
34 for me is the Jason Reitman film Juno. This was like right in the peak of all of the like quirky, independent-y kind of movie time. And it still just holds up so well. Anyway, I love the performances in it. I have loved uh, um Michael Cera since always. I don't know. His
Yeah.
his style just works for me. I don't know. I know that he's one of those controversial kind of actors, but I just love his vibe. I
Mhm.
think Elliot Page's performance is so good as Juno. I don't know. I love Jennifer Garner, West Virginia
Yeah.
girl. So like there's nobody in it that I don't like. And the story
Yeah.
is sweet and it's simple and I don't know, it just works for me. And like if I'm thinking of like that era of film where you had these like like just these
Yeah.
like real quirky kind of things and I think they all had Michael Cera in them because he's like the
Yeah.
ultimate like early 2000s quirky guy. But yeah, like
Yeah.
I don't know. This is just the
Well,
one that I love the most.
I
So,
have that much, much, much higher.
oh,
It's
well,
a
there we
it's
go.
it's a favorite of mine. Yeah, I
Excellent.
it's one of the most quotable movies I think ever
Oh, yeah,
made.
absolutely.
That ain't no etch a sketch.
Yeah.
And I love when she says, "You're like the coolest guy I know, and you don't even try." He's like, "I try really hard, actually."
Exactly.
It's so funny. I love J.K. Simmons and Allison Janney
Ex-
as her parents. Oh, they are the
Like
best.
there's just not a bad performance in
Yeah.
it. It's just straight down the list good.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
Juno's journey in it is so great because she thinks she has it all figured out, as most teenagers do, and she thinks that, or that Jason Bateman's character, oh, that's the cool one, and Jennifer Garner, she's a loser, she's a stiff, suit kind of, and the journey that she goes on and how painful that is. And the
Mhm.
thing is, like, some people, I remember saying, oh, it's like glorifying or making light of teen pregnancy. Absolutely not. Like, if you
No.
watch the movie, this is like an excruciating experience for her. Like, in no way could anybody watch that movie and be like, well, that looks like a pleasant experience, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And I don't think they shy away from that. And everything, I love it so much. The music, the is so fun. It's just the way it's shot, the way it's an all-timer favorite movie for me.
Yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
hooray.
very,
Then
very
we'll talk about
high,
that again.
very
Hooray.
high for me. Okay, number 33 is, I think, a little bit forgotten, but I really do love it. Is Where the Wild Things Are,
Mm, yeah.
from
Oh, good one.
this is from 2009. And here they take this child's storybook that's only a few pages, and usually that leads to disaster, and they make something truly beautiful. What he learns about forgiveness and about love and about family and about dedication, and everything, how he's able to forgive his mother for her flaws by the end of it, because he experienced what it's like to be king, and for people to understand that he, for people to, or for these creatures to feel like he had betrayed them and he was just trying to lead, and so he sees his mother in this whole new way. Like, you were just trying to lead our family, you were just trying to be a good mother, and look at this. And so it's just such a beautiful movie. It's
Mm.
after I wrote essays and essays and essays about it, and I think I could write essays more. I could probably do a PhD dissertation on just this movie alone, because it's not only got all of the beautiful messaging, but it's just so beautiful to look at, and the way they did the puppets, and the voice acting is so
Yeah.
good. I love James Gandolfini in this, his vocal performance, but all of them are really, really good, and they bring such heart and soul to the performance. And some people said, oh, it's too depressing for kids. I don't know, like a lot of kids stuff is pretty depressing. Old
Mhm.
Yeller. I mean, there are a lot of stuff, and I think there's a certain type of sort of brooding, thoughtful kid that this is going to really speak to a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, no, this makes me want to watch it again. It's been ages. I haven't thought about that movie, so yay. Yeah. Yeah. So 33 for me is three billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri, from
Mhm.
2017. Martin McDonough. I do love Banshees of Inisherin, but like I'll be honest, Three Billboards is just probably my favorite of his films. Um, I I love the way, and I love Frances McDonald, just generally speaking. I think she's
She's great.
fantastic. And I love Sam Rockwell. So, like, both of them being in it just kind of automatically is a little bit of a plus for me. But I think what I love about this movie is that it's this film wherein revenge kind of like becomes the substitute for grief. Like, she loses her daughter in this horrific way, and then she just immediately goes on this like I have to like get some kind of justice for it, and like that becomes her whole focus. I don't think she ever spends any time like reflecting on her loss at all. Like we see so
Yeah.
little of that, and I think it's just such an interesting examination of the way that, yeah, I think so many of us do. Like if something horrible happens, we kind of like shift our focus to some other thing rather than the thing that's right in front of us that makes us sad. And I think, yeah, I just love the way he does that. I mean, I think we see that in most of his films, is this kind of like almost like pushing off, like, I don't know. I really
Yeah.
appreciate the way that he like explores those themes, just generally speaking, but I think Three Billboards just does it really well.
I think the acting is quite good. It didn't 100% work for me with the I think the Frances McDormand character works a lot better than the Sam Rockwell character
Hmm.
for me. And I know that
That's
he's
fair.
supposed to be like layers to this racist, homophobic cop, but I don't know, like I felt like the movie didn't kind of deal with this gay man getting completely beat up and obliterated, and there wasn't like any consequences for that. And it was just kind of like they just, I don't know, for me, like the movie kind of moved on from that
Yeah,
faster than I thought it should. It's
that's fair.
yeah, so but I can see why it certainly was very popular. So I get it.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Well, for me, my 32 is a bit of a cheat, and you might see a few more of these coming up, I'm afraid. But I have Before Sunset,
Okay.
32,
That's
and
fair.
really I would include both of them that are in
Right.
this area, Before Midnight and Before Sunset. And I just think that capturing these two people, the incredible chemistry, and this one is my favorite of the three. Before Sunset is
Mm.
my favorite. And them reuniting after what they had experienced in Before Sunrise, and that it just feels so authentic and real, and like you're just following this couple, and and it feels like a real couple. Like feels like, were they actually married in real life? Like that's how it feels.
For sure.
And so it's really good. It's up there with my favorite Linklaters. He has such an incredible filmography. I mean,
Yes.
the variety of films that he has is really amazing. That he has, everything from School of Rock to to Dazed and Confused to this to Slacker. He's an incredible filmmaker. So
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always nice when somebody can like branch way out. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who doesn't like the Before movies. I mean, the
No,
third one maybe is maybe the most divisive because it has the most fighting, but still, they're just great.
yeah, for sure.
Whereas like Boyhood, I know way more people that are like they don't really like it. This series is
Right.
gold.
Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
So my 32 is The Dark Knight, and it was tough. In 2008, it was a year like for like superhero
Yeah,
movies because that's Iron Man too, and like
yeah.
the beginning of the MCU. But there is just something about The Dark Knight and Nolan's take on it is just so interesting. And I was not a huge fan of like Batman Begins. Like that one kind
Uh-huh.
of missed for me. I didn't really care about it. But oh my goodness, I just remember how many people were like sighing about, Heath Ledger coming in as the Joker, and he gives this, probably the best Joker we'll ever have. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know that there's ever going to be a better performance than that. I mean, it makes the whole movie. But just generally speaking, it just showed how you can have these like superhero movies and they don't have to just be, I don't know, like yeah, absurd. Like they can be, and Iron Man kind of does the opposite of it. It's the fun, bombastic, whatever kind of thing. And I love that they both exist in the same like timeline. It just makes me
Yeah.
happy. But there's just something about the storytelling in it and Christian Bale's performance, and of course, yeah, Heath Ledger is,
Well,
outstanding.
I'm glad that
Mm.
one of us had The Dark Knight on our list because I think the internet would have come for us if
Yeah.
we include it. It's a very well done film.
Yeah, I mean, like,
Yeah,
yeah, like it's,
great
yeah,
performance.
I just, it's so good. Yeah.
Great performance from Heath Ledger, of course.
Yeah.
And it's so well shot, well
Mhm.
made, well done. It's very entertaining. I mean, I wish that they handled the Harvey Dent a little bit better.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I don't really buy that he would completely abandon all his morals and that he would change so quickly for somebody. We haven't even seen. It's not like they showed Harvey and Rachel like together in intimate scenes and we really saw their no, we never saw that. The only time
Right.
we saw her kissing Bruce once, but so I think they could have been handled a little bit better. We're talking nuance here, but
Yeah,
it is a very well done film, and I see why people love it so much.
for sure.
So good pick. Okay, my number 31 is maybe a surprise because I can tend to be a horror wimp, but I loved The Menu.
Ah, yay, I'm glad one of us put it on. Oh, wait, is that a, I'm like, now I'm trying to remember. Oh, no, it is on my list. It's
Oh,
just higher. Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, and when I first saw it, I think I gave it like a B plus because
Hmm.
I was like, that was really good, but like the ending was a little cynical for my taste, things like that. But it was one that just stuck with me, and I kept thinking about it, and I kept like, oh, that was such a great scene, and that was such a funny moment, that was so good, and clever. And when I'd watch other stuff, I'd be like, oh, that was just like The Menu, and so it really went from being a B to an A
That's fair.
for me. And I love every performance. All of the diners are just so good in their
Yeah.
roles, and it's I mean, I think it would be up there and is one of my like favorite horror movies period ever. And just I don't know, just every scene. I just love it. It's so good. It's so well written. And
It's so
so
good.
yeah.
It's just another reason of how is, does Fine have an Oscar at this point?
Yeah, that's wild.
Like,
Yeah.
he's so good. He's just incredible, like in this. Oh, yeah, no, so fun. And I love that they had like the food, they had what's her name, Kren come in and do all of the food for it. So they had like a chefy Michelin star chef like come in and make these really cold looking but like gorgeous
Yeah.
food. It's just if you watch like yeah, all of the like chef's table kind of things, it has that vibe throughout. But oh my goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
And no, it's
And I
so fun.
I love Janet McTeer as the critic. She's
She's
so good.
so good. No, it is. Yeah, it's so much fun. Yeah, this one shows up much higher for me, but yeah, a couple weeks.
Oh, good. That's great. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
So my 31 is my only film from last year, and it's one that I caught late, or it did not make my top 10 of last year, and it's only because I didn't see it last year, and it is Thelma. I
Aww.
love this movie. Oh my gosh. I love it because when a parody movie, and this is basically a parody of just like an action movie or like a heist kind of thing, when they can parody the thing and still be that thing, like done well in its own right, that is just my all-time favorite kind of thing. So like I love Scream movies, even though they're not on my list. But like it's a good slasher film by itself that
Yeah.
also recognizes what slasher films do. And I think that is just excellent. And Thelma does that so well. And also, I just love the relationship between Thelma and her grandson. It's just, it's so wholesome and sweet and funny and entertain. It's just, oh my goodness, I love it. And I cannot believe that June Squibb was like 94 or 95 when she like performed in this. That is wild
And
to
her
me.
first lead she ever
Yeah,
had.
I just,
Yeah.
oh, it's so sweet
Yeah,
and
it's a
fun.
fun
I
movie.
love it. I
Yeah,
love
I
it.
saw that at Sundance last year and I was like, this is a charmer. And I like the
Yeah,
fact that they made her family like very likable. It wasn't one of
yeah,
those ones where like everyone's out to get the old lady. Like everybody in that movie is likable. I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
for
obviously
sure.
except for the villains, but
Right.
yeah, and Richard
And even
Roundtree.
they aren't terrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And her wanting to be Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, that was really fun. Yeah, good
Like
choice.
the explosion scene is just one of my all-time favorites. Like the cool walking away from the explosion, and it's just because you can't hear it. That's
Yeah.
hilarious. Oh, it's just funny. So yay.
Well, my picks are I have The Menu at 31. I have Before Sunset at 32. Where the Wild Things Are at 33. Jane Eyre at 34. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On at 35. Pride and Prejudice at 36. Hundreds of Beavers, 37. Mary Poppins Returns at 38. Game Night at 39. And In America at 40.
Great. And my list is from 31. Thelma, The Dark Knight, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, Juno, The Social Network, Fruitvale Station, Nightmare Alley, Avengers Infinity War, Children of Men, and Good Luck to You, Leo Grand.
Oh, very good.
Yay.
Well, let us know what you think of our choices in the comment section. We'd love to hear your thoughts and what are some of your favorites. We'd love to hear those as well. We still got more to come. And make sure you check out our previous episode where we did 41 through 50 because a lot of good ones on there as well. So check that out. Put a link in the description. And Alise, where can people find you?
Uh, Alise Chaffins in most social medias. I have a Substack, also Alise Chaffins dot Substack, whatever. So, yep, my name, you'll find
Great.
me. I'm one of the only Alise Chaffins in the whole world, so it works out pretty
That's
well for
good.
me.
That's good. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over the place and check out Hallmarky's podcast for a lot of content over there. And particularly, I have a whole episode where we ranked all of the Jane Eyres, me and my friend, and we've had tons of Jane Austen content over there as well. So check that out. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate that so much. Also have our Patreon group where we have monthly events. We also have our monthly poll where you can decide what Terry and I are going to rank over at Hallmarkies. So take a look at that. And we have our merch store where we have tons of fun designs, movie inspired designs. Check it out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Yay.